Good morning, Facebook. Unfortunately for you, I will be your primary instructor for the next block of instruction. This block of instruction should take approximately 5 minutes to complete, but before we begin, we must conduct a quick safety briefing. For the safety briefing, I have this graphical training aid. This is a standard hostage taker target. Observe the center of the head target. This is known as the craniocular cavity. Down here on the silhouette, adjacent my index finger, we have the pelvic cavity, which contains the rectal cavity. What I'm going to need you to do now is observe your own craniocular cavity and ensure that it is not in proximity to or in danger of becoming enveloped by your rectal cavity if it is not already there. Now that we have that out of the way, we can proceed with the block of instruction. What we have with us today and what we will be training with is the Glock 19 9mm semi-automatic pistol. Hours of fun, easy to use, and perfect for anyone whose IQ happens to be larger than their shoe size, which unfortunately may not encompass everyone in this virtual classroom. I swear to God, just being in the same room as some of you people gives me flashbacks to armed conflicts that were over before I was freaking born. Therefore, today's block of instruction will encompass the most basic operational procedures surrounding the Glock 19 handgun. The conditions are that you are given one Glock 19 handgun, 3 magazines, and 45 rounds of ammunition. We will cover both loading and unloading the Glock 19 handgun before you, like Boris the Soviet love hammer, strut up to the clearing barrel and kick a perfect 720 kickflip straight into a negligent discharge. Again. Alright guys, so if you're an airsoft LARPer on Sofa Team 6, or if you know where your daddy keeps his Glock 19 in his underwear drawer, I'm going to need you to go ahead and get those weapons out safely. The first task that we're going to review is the loading of the Glock 19. The loading of the Glock 19 begins by approaching the loading/clearing barrel. When you arrive at the loading/clearing barrel, you will unholster an unloaded Glock 19, keeping your booger hook off the bang switch and the muzzle pointed at the barrel. At this time, without placing your hand in front of the muzzle, you will lock the slide to the rear. Having accomplished this, you will retrieve one 15-round magazine. You will insert that magazine into the magazine well, seating it firmly. When the magazine is seated, with your booger hook still off the bang switch and the muzzle still pointed at the barrel, you will release the slide. At this time, it may be a good idea to do what is called a chamber check. A chamber check is simply to ensure that the slide did in fact strip around off the magazine and chamber it. A chamber check is completed by pulling the slide to the rear approximately 1/4 inch to ensure that you can see brass on the bolt face. At this time, release the slide into battery, keeping your booger hook off the bang switch. Return the Glock to the holster. That completes the first half of this block of instruction, loading the Glock 19. Moving on to the second half of this block of instruction, unloading the Glock 19. And this is the part that fucks everybody up, so pay the fuck attention. Upon your return, you will approach the clearing barrel. Upon arriving at the clearing barrel, you will, keeping your booger hook off of the bang switch, unholster your loaded Glock 19. You will keep the muzzle of the Glock 19 pointed at the clearing barrel. The first step in unloading the Glock 19 is to remove the source of ammunition. Having removed the source of ammunition, it is important to note, as we saw in the chamber check, there is still a round in this fucking weapon. Therefore, keeping your booger hooks off of the bang switch, keeping your hand behind the muzzle, keeping the muzzle pointed at the barrel, you will lock the slide to the rear. You will secure that round of ammunition. You will inspect the chamber of the weapon to ensure that there is no brass in the chamber. You will then move back to the breech area and ensure that there is no brass in the breech. If the breech is clear, you will inspect the magazine well and ensure that there is no magazine inserted in the magazine well. This is an example of a chamber that is not clear because brass is clearly visible in the chamber. In this example, the chamber is clear, but the doedic operator of the weapon failed to remove the source of ammunition. Therefore, the breech is not clear, as brass is clearly visible in the breech. Only when the chamber, the breech, and the magazine well are clear is the weapon considered clear. At this time, having confirmed that the weapon is clear with the muzzle still pointed at the clearing barrel and our booger hooks still off the freaking bang switch, can we send the slide forward? At this time, with our booger hook still off the bang switch, we will reholster a safe and clear Glock 19. You will notice at no point in drawing, loading, holstering, unholstering, or unloading the Glock 19 does the booger hook ever touch the bang switch. Therefore, be forewarned, if you, for some inconceivable and completely indefensible reason, decide that after clearing your weapon, you wish to place your filthy booger hook on the bang switch and pull the trigger, that if there is still around in that chamber, it is going to fuck start your world. In an almost immeasurably small amount of time, known as lock time, and measured in 10,000ths of a second, that Glock 19 is going to belch smoke, fire, and 115 grains of soul-sucking vengeance into the hollow bowels of that clearing barrel with a resounding explosion loud enough to leave you convinced that the sun has just collided with the earth. This may or may not be directly responsible for the rapid onset of sudden poop explosion syndrome, leaving you shitting out a screaming face. Now, your first line supervisor, naturally, is going to have questions. A lot of questions. Where does that leave you? That leaves you in front of a freshly executed clearing barrel, holding a now empty, hopefully, Glock 19, and the wherewithal of a Japanese tourist who so very badly wants something and who so desperately cannot communicate it. Believe me, nobody's superior officer enjoys writing a 3-page peer-reviewed research report due in 2 hours, observing the effects of the collision between 3.7 billion years of human intelligent evolution, fetal alcohol syndrome, and let's face it, what's probably a touch of syphilitic insanity. All right, virtual class. This concludes tonight's block of instruction on the most basic operational procedures for the Glock 19 semi-automatic pistol. So, before you find yourself standing in front of a clearing barrel with a disgusting pit in your stomach like you had when you were a child and fucked up Silent Night in front of 300 parents, if you have questions about the most basic operational procedures surrounding the Glock 19, get with your training coordinator or immediate supervisor. If you don't know, you don't know. There's no shame in not knowing something. Believe me, you're a million times better off to get with your training coordinator or first line supervisor, ask the questions about the things that you don't know, get remedial training if you need remedial training, do what you got to do to get yourself up to speed before you turn your career into survivor's guilt and a table for one at the Cheesecake Factory, crying into the pages of Sylvia Plath. And yeah, the rumors are true. Scientists have proven it, everybody knows it. If you put around in a clearing barrel, God hates you.